Welcome to Propeller Breeze, the show for student pilots, sim fans, and everyone chasing that first solo and beyond. All information in this podcast is for entertainment and general knowledge only. Always verify with certified flight instructors or regulatory authorities before attempting anything mentioned here.
So imagine you are flying along at like 3,000 feet.
Okay, picture that.
The engine is humming smoothly, the sky is perfectly clear, and you are feeling really great about your heading. But then suddenly, this tiny, seemingly insignificant gauge on your instrument panel just starts flickering.
Oh, like the oil pressure needle bouncing a little bit?
Exactly. Just a little bounce. It is annoying. So you tap the glass, you try to figure out what it means, and within 3 minutes of noticing that tiny flicker, you are in a catastrophic dive, literally seconds away from a fatal crash.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, how does that even happen?
Well, it is because the physical mechanics of the aircraft were perfectly fine, but the pilot's cognitive bandwidth completely collapsed. I mean, the brain zeroed in on a mystery it couldn't solve, and in the process, they simply forgot to fly the airplane.
Welcome to this deep dive. If you are listening to this right now, especially if you are a student pilot, grinding through your flight training and working toward your private pilot license, your PPL, you know exactly how consuming those physical mechanics are. Oh, absolutely. The muscle memory takes so much effort.
Right. You spend hours and hours figuring out rotor coordination and trim. But today, we are extracting the absolute most critical insights from aviation training data, focused entirely on what happens after you know how to fly straight and level.
Right. The mental game.
Exactly.
Right.
We are unpacking the mental game of aviation, and our mission today is to pull out the essential strategies on workload management, situational awareness, and risk assessment so you can actually stay safely ahead of the airplane.
Because the harsh reality of aviation is that the sky does not care how beautifully you can execute a steep turn if, your brain is 5 miles behind the aircraft.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it.
The training materials we are analyzing today are entirely about the mechanics of attention. It is a survival guide for your mind in the left seat.
So let's start by defining the holy grail of this mental game. The ultimate goal every pilot is striving for is situational awareness, or SA.
Right, SA.
We hear that term everywhere. It sounds a bit like, corporate jargon, honestly.
No.
But in the cockpit, it has a very precise meaning. It is the accurate perception and understanding of all the factors across 5 fundamental risk elements.
And those are the flight, the pilot, the aircraft, the environment, and the type of operation.
Yeah, exactly.
Those 5 elements represent literally every single variable in the sky. True situational awareness means you perceive how all of those factors are interacting to affect your safety in real time.
Right.
But it goes beyond just knowing your GPS coordinates. One of the primary ways pilots build this complex mental picture is by constantly monitoring radio communications.
Oh, right, like catching the automated weather discussions.
Exactly. You listen for nearby traffic, and you monitor air traffic control, or ATC.
It sounds like piecing together a massive jigsaw puzzle in your head, but without being able to see the box. You hear ATC give an altitude change to a completely different aircraft miles away, and even though they aren't talking to you,
It still matters.
yeah, that single piece of data helps you map out where everyone is, or maybe it indicates that there's a cloud layer building up ahead that you can't even see yet.
The flight training scenarios outline this beautifully with a really specific geographic example. So imagine flying over Richmond, Virginia, heading north toward Dulles or Leesburg.
Okay.
Let's say ATC starts giving you radar vectors, instructing you to turn to a heading of 040, and then shortly after, a heading of 360.
All right.
You could just turn the yoke mechanically like a robot. But doing that completely sabotages your situational awareness. A pilot has to know why they are being vectored.
Okay, let's unpack this. Flying without true situational awareness is essentially like being a passenger on a train instead of the conductor.
Oh, I like that.
Right. If you're just sitting in a passenger car following instructions, turn left, turn right, slow down, without knowing why the train is taking that route, you are entirely helpless if the tracks suddenly run out. You have zero context for your spatial location.
Yeah, you are just along for the ride.
Exactly. But in the sky, a pilot cannot afford to just be a passenger following orders. If an engine quits and your first thought is, wait, where am I? Instead of, here is where I'm putting the plane down, you have already lost.
What's fascinating here is that maintaining situational awareness isn't actually about the present moment at all.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it is fundamentally about understanding the future impact of current factors. True SA means your mind is projecting forward.
Ah, I see.
You're applying your aeronautical decision-making skills to anticipate exactly where the aircraft, the weather, and the traffic will intersect 10, 20, or even 30 minutes from now.
So you're basically playing chess, mapping out 3 moves ahead.
Exactly.
But that brings us to the multi-million-dollar question in aviation safety. If we know what situational awareness is, and we know how absolutely vital it is for survival, why is it so incredibly easy to lose?
Well, aviation psychology points directly to 3 main physiological and mental obstacles: fatigue, stress, and workload. When those 3 elements pile up, they breed distractions. And distractions are the hidden killer in aviation. I mean, it is rarely a wing snapping off in midair that causes an accident.
It's usually something small, like that flickering gauge we talked about earlier.
Precisely. A minor problem.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little bit. If you're flying an airplane and a gauge starts showing abnormal oil pressure, or your heading indicator is drifting, should the pilot focus on fixing it?
You would think so, yeah.
Right. Isn't it their job to figure out what's mechanically wrong? How does trying to solve a genuine mechanical problem actually cause an accident?
Because it triggers the psychological trap of fixation.
Fixation, okay.
Yeah. When a human being is fatigued or stressed, the brain's available cognitive bandwidth shrinks dramatically. So when you encounter that broken gauge, your brain can easily latch onto it as the single most critical item in the world. You pour 100% of your cognitive resources into diagnosing that one instrument. And in doing so, you experience literal tunnel vision. You completely divert your attention away from outside scanning, monitoring airspeed, and, proper aircraft control.
It's the concept of task saturation. As a student pilot, I think that is one of the most terrifying phenomena to learn about.
It is terrifying because it is a physiological override.
Right.
When a pilot becomes truly task-saturated, like trying to fly, navigate, communicate, and fix a problem all at once, they literally have no awareness of new inputs.
Zero awareness.
Zero. The brain drops them at the sensory level. A warning horn could be blaring directly into your headset, or ATC could be frantically calling your tail number, and you simply will not hear it.
It is wild.
Your auditory processing shuts down because all your processing power is tied up on that faulty gauge. You end up making life or death decisions based on a fractured, incomplete picture of reality.
And there is a glaring warning sign that you are entering this state, right?
Yeah.
The very first indicator of an unmanageable workload is the physical sensation of working harder but accomplishing less.
Oh, yeah. You feel it.
You are sweating, your heart rate spikes, your hands are constantly moving, flipping switches and dialing knobs, but the airplane is somehow getting further and further ahead of you.
You are constantly reacting instead of anticipating.
Exactly.
That feeling is your dashboard warning light. And the critical takeaway from the source material is that you cannot muscle your way out of it.
Right, you can't just try harder.
No, working harder when your brain is saturated just digs the hole deeper. You have to recognize that your cognitive engine is redlining.
So, how do we fight back? If task saturation is the enemy, how does a pilot in the left seat actually manage it?
The core strategy is workload management, and the key is that it happens before the stress ever piles up.
Okay, so pre-planning.
Effective workload management is entirely about planning, prioritizing, and sequencing tasks. It ensures you are deliberately choosing when to do things rather than letting the flight dictate the schedule to you. The golden rule they teach is to prepare for high workload periods during times of low workload.
You learn to feel the rhythm of a flight. Like cruising straight and level on a clear day, that's low workload. But approaching a busy airport to land, that is extremely high workload.
Exactly. So you shift the tasks forward. You don't wait until you are 5 miles out to figure out the weather. You listen to the ATIS or ATIS automated broadcasts way early.
Right? You review your charts and set your radio frequencies miles before you actually need them. Then you monitor the tower or the CTAF to build a mental picture of the traffic flow long before you enter the pattern.
And you run your checklists early, too. Getting your descent and approach checklists done well in advance buys you the single most valuable resource in the cockpit.
Time to look out the window.
Yes. Time to spot other aircraft. Time to digest complex ATC instructions. This preparation is especially critical before entering complex, tightly controlled areas like Class B airspace.
Just to give a quick refresher for anyone listening, Class B airspace is that incredibly busy, highly regulated sky surrounding major international airports. Think LAX, JFK, or O'Hare.
Right, they are massive.
They are giant upside-down wedding cakes of airspace where airplanes are flying everywhere, and ATC is extremely demanding. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you think about workload management entering Class B airspace, it is exactly like cooking a massive, complex Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, I love this analogy.
Right. If you are roasting a giant turkey, baking 3 sides, and making gravy from scratch, you don't wait until the exact minute everything is supposed to finish to start chopping your vegetable.
Definitely not.
If you don't do your prep work like chopping onions, measuring spices, getting your pans out during the quiet hours of the morning, your kitchen is going to burst into flames when all those oven timers start going off at the exact same second.
That is the perfect analogy. Hitting the boundary of Class B airspace is exactly when all your timers go off at once. If you haven't done your prep, if you don't have the weather, the radio frequencies, and the checklist finished, you are going to burn the dinner.
You will instantly lose situational awareness because the workload just completely exceeds your capacity.
Absolutely.
But let's be real. Even with flawless prep, things go wrong. Emergencies happen. You suddenly find yourself overloaded despite your best efforts. For that exact scenario, there is a very specific emergency protocol to break the cycle of task saturation.
Right, it's a 4-step mantra. Stop, think, slow down, prioritize.
Stop, think, slow down, prioritize. It sounds incredibly counterintuitive when you are hurtling through the sky at 100 miles an hour.
It does.
But it is a physiological necessity. You have to force a pause to figure out what actually matters right now. And prioritizing is heavily dependent on context, which relies on your experience and your discipline.
There's a fantastic example in the training materials to illustrate how context dictates priority. Let's talk about the cabin door.
Oh, the door popping open, yes.
Imagine you were flying along and suddenly, pop, the passenger door springs open an inch. Now, if you are flying VFR visual flight rules on a beautiful, clear, sunny day, the impact of that door popping open on your workload is almost zero.
Right. I mean, it's really loud, the wind is rushing in, but the airplane flies perfectly fine. It's not a true emergency. You just keep flying the plane, fly the pattern, land, and shut it.
Exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, look at how the exact same mechanical event changes completely under different conditions.
Right.
If that exact same cabin door pops open while you are flying IFR instrument flight rules, meaning you are completely engulfed in clouds, relying entirely on your gauges to know which way is up, the impact on your cognitive workload is catastrophic.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a totally different situation.
The sudden deafening noise, the physical distraction, the rush of cold air. In the sensory deprivation of a cloud, that shock can instantly trigger spatial disorientation. Your brain might suddenly tell you that you are banking sharply when you are actually flying straight.
So a pop door in VFR is basically just an annoyance. But in IFR, it's a critical psychological threat that has to be deliberately, carefully managed.
Yes.
You have to put the situation in perspective and intentionally prioritize flying the airplane over, fighting with a stupid door handle.
That ability to place a sudden event into its proper perspective is what separates a pilot who panics from a pilot who safely manages an emergency.
All right, so we've established how to manage the aircraft, how to manage your workload, and how to manage your own panic response. But as you transition from a student pilot to holding that PPL, there is a massive new variable you're going to introduce into the cockpit.
The passengers.
Yes, the people sitting in the seats next to you. Managing passengers is a huge element of risk management.
Because passengers are total wildcards. They can either be a dangerous cognitive burden or they can be an incredibly helpful asset. And as the pilot in command, it is your responsibility to dictate which one they will be long before the propeller even starts spinning.
And sometimes risk management just means keeping them on the ground entirely. Like if you assess the environment and realize the weather is marginal and you have very little experience flying in bad visibility, the best workload management decision you can make is to cancel the flight.
True. But assuming the weather is gorgeous and you are taking your friends up for the first time, you manage that environment through a comprehensive passenger briefing.
Right. Aviation loves its acronyms.
It sure does. The standard here is the safety list, SAFETY. And this isn't just a generic airline-style presentation. It is a tool for preserving your own cognitive bandwidth.
Let's run through it for the listeners. The basics are pretty straightforward, but they're crucial.
Yeah.
S is for seatbelts.
Right, showing them how they operate, ensuring they are fastened for taxi, takeoff, and landing, and checking seat positions so someone doesn't accidentally slide backward into the controls during climb out.
Yeah, that would be bad. And then A is for air vents.
showing them how to get fresh air and explicitly telling them to speak up if they feel airsick before it becomes a messy emergency.
Super important. Then F and E cover the fire extinguisher and exit doors. So, pointing out locations, how to operate them, and discussing the evacuation plan and survival kit.
Covering seatbelts, air vents, fire extinguishers, and exits ensures physical safety. But the real meat of this briefing, the part that actually protects your mental game, is the T and the Y.
Tell me about the T.
T stands for traffic and talking. You brief your passengers to look out the window, scan for traffic, and point out any aircraft they see.
So you are instantly enlisting them as an extra set of eyes. And the talking part introduces the concept of the sterile flight deck. The rule is that the cockpit must be completely silent-like, no non-essential conversation whatsoever during critical phases of flight.
None.
That means from departure until you reach your cruising altitude and are clear of local airspace. And again, on arrival, from the start of your descent all the way to engine shutdown.
The sterile flight deck is a hard, non-negotiable boundary. It's designed specifically to protect the pilot from distractions when task saturation is most likely to happen.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, when you actually have your best buddies in the plane?
Yeah.
You know, you finally get your license, you invite them for a weekend flight, they're super excited. Isn't it incredibly awkward to enforce a sterile flight deck?
It can feel that way.
To look at your friends and say, hey, you are literally not allowed to speak to me for the next 15 minutes while I land this thing.
This raises an important question about the social pressure inside a cockpit. It definitely feels awkward to silence enthusiastic friends. But that is exactly why the safety briefing happens on the ground, with the engine off.
Okay.
By setting those expectations before you even start taxiing, you entirely remove the awkwardness. You aren't snapping at them defensively in the air while trying to talk to ATC. You are simply executing a safety protocol you already agreed on together.
That makes total sense. And the final letter of the acronym, Y, for your questions, invites them to clarify anything right then and there. It really shifts the dynamic.
It does.
You are setting boundaries, but by giving them tasks like spotting traffic or even just holding a folded chart for you, you are turning them from passive luggage into briefed crew members.
You manage their expectations, which basically guarantees they won't interrupt you with a random question at the exact second you are trying to intercept a final approach course.
Right.
It creates an environment of shared responsibility. A well-briefed passenger lowers your workload. A poorly briefed passenger exponentially increases it.
So to pull all of these threads together for you, as you push forward toward your check ride, earning that private pilot license is a phenomenal achievement. But it isn't just about wrestling a machine into submission.
Yeah, not at all.
It is fundamentally about mastering your own attention. You have to recognize the physiological trap of gauge fixation. You have to use the Thanksgiving dinner strategy of pulling high workload tasks into low workload quiet times.
Yep, get that prep done.
And you have to use the safety briefing to turn your passengers into assets while fiercely protecting your cognitive bandwidth with a sterile flight deck. Preparation is the only thing that keeps you out of the danger zone of task saturation. You always have to be the conductor, never the passenger.
Well said. And you know, as you move forward and eventually fly more advanced aircraft, there is a fascinating modern challenge to this mental game that isn't always obvious at the student level.
What's that?
We talked about how a stressed brain drops sensory inputs, but in modern aviation, with beautiful giant glass cockpit displays and advanced autopilots, pilots face the opposite danger: complacency.
Complacency. Interesting.
Yeah. When a computer is flying the plane flawlessly along a magenta line on a screen, the workload drops so low that your brain actually checks out.
Wow.
You lose situational awareness not because you are overwhelmed, but because you are understimulated. Recognizing when automation is silently eroding your awareness is the next great paradox every pilot has to solve for themselves in the left seat.
The danger of things going too perfectly. It just proves that the mental game is never truly over. It just evolves. The cockpit is a constantly shifting landscape of awareness, and it is entirely up to you to stay ahead of it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the pilot's mind, and we wish you clear skies, manageable workloads, and perfect situational awareness on your flight training journey.
That's it for this episode. Keep your wings level, your brain sharp, and catch you next time in the pattern. Thanks for riding with Propeller Breeze.